Hello again. I hope you're still okay. I hope you're learning shit, because if you are stuck in your home or your dorm room and there's nothing else to do, well, damn it, learn some shit, because why not? Yeah? Now, I'm sure we have reached the point where you're thinking about a topic for speech 3 and you're like, oh gosh, what if I have to say something that's kind of like controversial as I'm doing this? And I have a feeling, particularly for those of you who were raised in the Great Plains and you think it's nigh unto sacrilege to eat the last brownie, then you might be a little uncomfortable with that, and you might be asking, should I? Should I be controversial in this speech, or should I persuade people about something safe? Should I stay in the kiddie pool and talk about why, oh, you might want to choose eating a Mounds bar over eating a Snickers, instead of just being like, oh, we should bring back human sacrifice? Yeah, okay. So this lesson is about that. This lesson is designed to help you make that decision. And I'm not going to tell you don't be controversial. And I'm also not going to tell you you have to be controversial. But I am going to tell you how to make that decision, so that whatever you choose, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're not just trying to light a fire under people because you're an internet troll and that's how you live. Don't do that. That's annoying. So the issue here today is it's called rhetorical fitness. Now, remember that our topic here is rhetoric. It's the art of persuasion, the art of goal-oriented persuasive communication. And it really is an art. Yeah, it really is something you can craft. It really is something that you premeditate. It's an art. And as with any other art, it's all about making decisions about what to include, just like you would do when you're designing a painting. You have to figure out what to put in stuff that's going to appeal to an audience. Now, basically what rhetorical fitness is saying the right thing in the right moment. Yeah, it's rhetorical fitness is being the hero that Gotham needs right now. And that's really crucial, because you could be talking about something that used to be really pertinent, but it's not anymore, and that doesn't do anybody any good. Or you could be doing something that might be cool in the future, but for now, we have other things to worry about. Yeah? That's what we're kind of traversing here. In rhetoric, it might be almost easier for you to understand if we call this appropriateness. Now, appropriateness is not exactly what you're probably thinking. It's not like when you're talking to somebody and they don't like what you say and they're like, oh, that's inappropriate. Like, you got one of those in your life, right? That's a code word for, oh, I don't want to talk about this, so I'm going to say it's inappropriate, even though I'm not the person who gets to decide those things, just so you'll stop talking. Like, I'm pretty sure there are people that you could be like, oh, I want pizza, and they're like, that's inappropriate, because I don't want to talk about it, right? Those are not the situations we're talking about here. We're talking about, does what you want to say fit in the context in which you want to say it? That's appropriateness for our purposes. Now, this complex notion of appropriateness, or fitness, if you like that term better, has two parts. Two things that you can kind of gauge to figure out whether the topic you want to talk about is appropriate. And despite how controversial it is, if it's appropriate, if it's fit, then I would say talk about it. Go nuts. If it is not fit according to these two standards, maybe leave it for another time. So, our first standard is called kairos. K-A-I-R-O-S. Kairos. And kairos is the question of whether or not the thing you want to talk about is timely. Do we need to talk about it now? Like, is it good for now? This is attention to the occasion that you're speaking at. For example, let's say you're going to give a speech at a wedding, like you're doing one of those little toast things. And it's very tempting to be that guy, right, that you get up and you tell horrible stories about the bride or the groom and, like, things that they did in the past that are super embarrassing but super funny. And then you look across and you remember that you're at a wedding, which is a celebration of their love for another person and has nothing to do with the time they got drunk and peed on a cop car. Like, really. Like, that's Kairos. Is that timely for this occasion? But the occasion is not the only concern of Kairos. You also have to think about the audience involved. Now, to keep using that example, you may think you're being funny, and maybe some people at the wedding are giggling, even though your story has nothing to do with anything about marriage. But then you look across the room, and there's Grandma. Yeah, and Grandma's like, "Whoa, my grandson peed on a cop car. I can't handle that." Or maybe you have one of those grandmas that think they're like fun, and they're like, "Ha ha ha." But still, maybe not something you wanted to say to all of those people. So you have to think about occasion, but you also have to think about audience. You have to think about who you're talking to. And if you are kairotic, if you do have kairos, then you're okay. So when you're looking at your speech 3 topic and you're asking, is this kairotic? Is it the hero Gotham needs right now? Then you ask yourself, hey, is this something people care about now? Like, right now, you might think, oh gosh, I should be talking about politics. I should be talking about the election. And yet, this week in particular, somehow, speaking purely for myself and probably for a good portion of the American population, I don't give 2 shits about the election. I'm just worried about not getting sick. Yeah, that's Kairos. You have to figure out what people need to hear in the milieu and the context that they're living in. Yeah? So figure out Kairos. Figure out if your topic is timely. And if it is, cool. And that doesn't mean it has to be a current issue. By the way, if you want to talk about something like, I don't know, the ancient Greek principles of rhetoric, totally fine. They came out hundreds of years ago, but they're still relevant. And in my informative speech about them, I'm telling you why they're relevant, because they apply to your speech. Yeah, you can make an older topic timely, but you have to make the effort to do it. Yeah, but at the same time, some older topics are not timely. Yeah, like if you wanted to talk about swine flu, right? Do you remember swine flu? That was like 10 years ago. If you wanted to talk about swine flu right now, nobody cares. Talk about COVID right now, really timely. And that's the question to ask yourself. But that's only half of it. That's only half of rhetorical fitness. That's only half of appropriateness. The second half is called decorum. Decorum, like you've probably heard that word associated with politeness before, decorum. But in our case, decorum, it is being polite, kind of, but basically it's doing what's polite or following what's proprietous, what's proper in the situation that you're in at the time. So decorum at a football game is a lot different from like decorum at the grocery store. Like if you run up behind somebody at the grocery store and you start like screaming "Go Wolves" and shoving your armpit in their face because you're cheering with your hands in the air, man, that ain't gonna fly, because that does not work for that situation. You have to figure out if your topic is the kind of thing that you would say in a speech making situation where you're ideally standing in front of a classroom and saying things to people who are already kind of bored because they're in school, but they're also more ready to listen because they're in school. You gotta walk that line. Yeah? You gotta figure out what to do with that. So basically here, you're following politeness, you're following appropriateness for your situation. For your situation, and that is the key aspect here, because if we try to pretend that there's universal standards of decorum, there's not. Yeah, that's a failed experiment. So figure out what your situation calls for. And it may be that you want to come into this speech and go balls to the wall like, I'm going to tell everybody that they should go out and eat a Twinkie. Is that something that they could do in the context that they're in college, in a small town in South Dakota? Yeah? Okay. Seems fairly decorous to me. Now, if you wanted to tell everybody, I think that you should magically grow a unicorn horn and run around charging people with it, and then come back and let me know how that goes. Yeah, can we do that? No. I mean, well, maybe some of you can't. I don't know what supernatural elements you got going on in your life, but it's not feasible, and it doesn't really work for the context we're in, so that's not going to work. Now, caution about decorum. You want to be polite. You want to be the kind of way that you should be in a situation. But at the same time, you also want to do something a little unexpected. Yeah? You want to throw in a little dash of inappropriateness so that people stay awake, basically. This is why I drop F-bombs in lectures, right? And I watch it happen. Like, people glazed over, and then I'm like, fuck. And people are like, oh, didn't expect that, because I'm a nerdy white chick with giant glasses and a nasal voice, and you don't expect me to do stuff like that, but when I do, you pay more attention. Yeah? So when you are figuring out appropriateness of your topic, pick something that the audience is comfortable hearing about, but also pick something that's just edgy enough that they'll pay attention to it and be like, oh, I should think about that more. That's the effect you're going for. So that's what you do. If you're figuring out whether or not you should talk about a particular topic, again, I'm not telling you be controversial or don't be controversial. I'm telling you be rhetorically fit. Yeah? Be appropriate in a very complex and nuanced understanding of appropriateness that involves kairos and involves decorum, and then you're good. If you meet both of those standards, then you're good. So if you're still struggling with this, go on YouTube and look for example persuasive speeches and see if you think they had rhetorical fitness. See if you think that they were decorous. Did they meet the demands of the times? And you can use their examples to kind of help you gauge your own idea and make sure that you're treading the same things that they are. I hope that makes sense. And as usual, if you have any questions at all, please shoot me an email, send me a text. I would be delighted to hear from you. And I hope everything's going okay. As you're going forward with your Speech 3 topic, please consider it carefully. Please run it by me again if you want to. Run it by other people digitally if you want to. See how other people are feeling. And the more people you get feedback from, the more guarantee you get that you are being fit, that you are being timely, and that you are being appropriate. Okay, I'm going to let you all go for now, but I will see you next week, where we'll be talking about even more things about persuasion. And in the meantime, have a good and productive weekend. Goodbye.